15 minutes to showtime. Please begin to make your way to the Great Hall.
Hold it closer. I'll fix it.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I think. Was that effective? Are people moving? Should I do another one? Okay. Great. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna run down and 5 minutes to showtime. Please head upstairs to the Great Hall now. Thank you.
Not in the forum. Okay, not in the forum. Yep.
5 minutes to showtime. Please head upstairs to the Great Hall now. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Is this on? Ah, there we go. That's why it's... Welcome to this year's Honor Awards for Washington Architecture. It is amazing to be in this space, full of energy. Thanks, you guys. It feels great to be up here. It's wonderful to see old friends, and it's really amazing that we're here together to celebrate good design and really to celebrate this extraordinary community. And I really mean that. My name is Jennifer Barnes. I'm one of the co-chairs this year for the Honor Awards. I am an architect and a nature-positive design consultant, and I am really happy to be here tonight.
And my name is Alex Ayala. I'm an architect, an urban designer here in Seattle. And it's been a privilege to work with Jennifer starting earlier this year, and really just the entire committee. These folks are incredible. It's just been great to see how everybody locks into their role to make this event happen. Tonight is just the tip of the iceberg of what they do. So before we get started, I want to ask the audience to give a warm round of applause to our band who opened the night for us tonight. Weren't they great? They're Achendino. Look them up. They're amazing.
Achendino. Thank you, Achendino. Tonight we're here to celebrate you and your work. We have come together as a community to talk about ideas and commitment and really the care that forms the work that we're all doing.
That's right, and as the newer kid on the block here, this event holds a very special place for me because it was my introduction to Seattle's design community. And every time that I've attended, I've met someone new that I've made such a deep connection with. So I hope that every one of you tonight gets a chance to meet someone completely random and just see where that takes you.
I hope so too, because you know what? The people in this room are fierce. This is an amazing group of people. We are smart and committed and steadfast and visionaries. And I don't know about you guys, but for me right now in this climate, to be together with like-minded people who are forward-thinking is really more important than ever. And I'll tell you, Alex and I have been really reflecting on this moment. You know, what does celebration look like when things are crazy? How do we celebrate each other and celebrate good design and not be tone deaf to what's going on around us, to what's happening in our communities, to our friends and our neighbors?
That's right, and I think where we landed is that we just have to be straightforward and say that we are going through dark times, and that not all of us are okay at the moment. But I think what's important to remember is that we must not walk alone. That's something that we have to remember. I recently had the privilege of meeting some of the leaders from the Paiute tribe in Nevada, as well as an artist from Hawaii. And something that deeply resonated with me was that, you know, although there are two different cultures across the vast ocean, they had similar ideas, or attitudes rather, about darkness. Basically, what they told me is, at dusk, we gather around the bonfire. And at the bonfire, this is where we tell our stories, where children learn, but most importantly, where we get ready for what's to come.
This idea of a bonfire is powerful, right? It's where we're both a collective, working together and relying on each other. And we're also coming to that bonfire as strong individuals, sharing our unique stories, our talents, our superpowers, right, to make that collective even stronger. So, did you all notice your name tag prompt? What is your superpower, right? We hope, Alex and I hope that all of you feel like you have lots of them, and you do. Everyone in this room has superpowers, and wow, now is the time to step into them. To step into your superpower, stand up for what you believe in, speak up, and bring that to the design table to make those discussions even richer. And then imagine the kind of impact we can have when we come together with that attitude.
And another thing we talked about this collective power, is how much stronger it actually becomes when we are truly and genuinely connected to the land. And we live in a beautiful place,
yes,
right?
We do.
It's rainy sometimes, but we're fortunate to live here, and we are especially fortunate to live among folks that have cared for this land since time immemorial. And I'm talking about the Duwamish, the Snoqualmie, the Muckleshoot, and all of the Coast Salish people who have deep traditions And so we think that as designers, we do have this responsibility to learn from these deep traditions and to also, leave the place better than you found it. And so we really believe in that, and I hope that you can see some of that work tonight.
That's right. And as we honor and feel gratitude for those stewards of our land, we also feel and acknowledge gratitude for all of you who are here and the many people who contributed to making these beautiful projects that we're going to talk about tonight, the many people that brought them to life.
And tonight, behind us, you'll see some beautiful projects and beautiful photography, diagrams, sketches, really stories. But we want you all to remember that behind every single one of these projects, there are dozens of people, if not more actually, who have poured their creativity, their time, and many of you are sitting here in the audience today. So this celebration tonight, yes, it may seem like we're celebrating projects, but we're really celebrating you.
That's right. Now, I want to give a shout out to the incredible work our community does through AIA Seattle as we aim to foster more equitable, resilient, and thriving communities. We are the 5th largest chapter in the country with over 2,800 members, 20 member communities, and more than 70 programs every year, which is amazing. That's a ton of work. Our commitment to advocacy and leadership, you feel it. It ripples across our region and across the United States. And you are all a part of this community, so thank you. And for those of you who want to be even more engaged, maybe you want to shape our direction or give your time to our efforts at AIA Seattle, please, we invite you to get involved.
And now I would like to embarrass 23 people that make up our committee. If you could please stand up, if you're part of the AIA Honor Awards Committee, please stand up so people can see you and we'll give you some well-deserved gratitude.
A bunch of them are behind the stage. But,
we have Tim, CU, Carol, Mackenzie, Tom, Rio, Susan, Andy, Ong, Catherine, Chris, Ed, Hillary S., Hillary R., Kaylin, Kevin, Mariah, Megan, Stephen Wyatt, and last but not least, we have Ria and Zoe, who are amazing. Let's give it up for them. Thank you.
All right, speaking of celebrations, we want to let you know that AIA Seattle has just released the call for nominations to recognize outstanding work of individuals and organizations in our design community. These nominations are due December 8th, which is really soon. That's so weird. So start thinking about who you want to nominate. And we look forward to celebrating the recipients of the annual Party event this spring.
That's right. And also, tonight's celebration, it's obviously possible because of all of your support, but it's also possible because of the support of all of our sponsors. So let's take a minute to recognize our appreciation for our sponsors. If you could hold your applause until the end, we'll greatly appreciate it. Ballard Spar, Lane Powell.
Burger Partnership.
CBiz Bernstein Porter.
FSI Engineers.
GLY.
KPFF Consulting Engineers.
Magnuson Clemensic Associates.
Quantum Consulting Engineers.
Saison.
Schuchart.
Schultz Miller.
Swenson Safe Fage.
Windows, doors, and more. And we would also like to thank our in-kind sponsors, Better Bricks, for sponsoring the Energy and Design Award through support of the UW Integrated Design Lab.
Citizen M, Pioneer Square, and South Lake Union for subsidizing our jury and moderators' accommodations and hosting us for jury deliberations.
Fremont Brewery for providing the beer for the 5th year in a row this year.
Yeah. And Mr. for lending this gorgeous furniture and hosting us for a fun welcome event on Friday night. Thank you again
Thank you, everyone.
to all of our
clap
sponsors.
now. And speaking of other partnerships, AIA Seattle is thrilled to be working with America by Design. This is a CBS and YouTube series that will highlight incredible design work. The show will be featuring projects recognized through this committee, but also other projects through AIA chapters nationally. So we're excited to show you a sneak preview of this. Roll the video.
This is a show for our industry. This is an authentic design show.
Are you kidding? Looking at amazing designs, talking to architects and designers? This is my kind of show.
This is my kind of show.
This is my kind of show, America by Design.
AIA is excited to partner with this series.
I like this show because it gets architects to talk about their work in a very public way.
I'm loving looking through these fantastic projects and learning the design journey behind them.
This is an amazing opportunity for our members to showcase their work.
Our members are ecstatic.
AIA Los Angeles is so excited about being part of this series.
Chicago is a city that loves its architecture. It's almost in the DNA of the city.
New York City architects are buzzing.
AIA Tennessee is so excited to be a part of this series.
We want to celebrate the members' work at AIA Seattle.
Yeah.
Wow. Kaylin, you're famous already. I can't wait to watch.
24/7 live streaming.
Saturdays, 9 p.m. Eastern.
And each episode.
Oops.
Thank you.
Ah, how fun. All right, well, we have a lot to celebrate. And Kaylin, where are you? Oh my gosh. Sign my notes, please.
There. Good job.
All right, before Alex and I leave the stage, we have a very special introduction to make. We are all so fortunate to be joined tonight by a dear and lovely person who can distill the most complex ideas into poetry.
I have a whole paragraph on her, but she's just awesome, right?
It's amazing.
She's an inspiring voice in our community. I think with everything she does, she's elevating the design out here. She's a writer, she's an editor, she's an educator, all-around creative force. And please join me in welcoming our moderator for the night, the multi-talented Lauren Gallo, everyone.
Hi.
Oh, what a weekend we have had.
Agreed. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Alex and Jennifer. It's been wonderful spending the weekend with you. Thank you so much for all you've done to make this such a wonderful event. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you.
All right, everybody, have fun tonight. You're in good hands. Take it away, Lauren.
Thanks.
Bye.
Hi, everybody. Before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge that I know so many of you. You're my friends, you're my colleagues, I work with you. I'm not an architect or a designer, I'm a writer, but working with you gives me an opportunity to express my creativity and my creative voice. So I just want to thank you for the wonderful work that you do. It inspires me every day, and I'm excited to share that with you tonight. And we're going to kick things off by introducing our esteemed jury. They bring such a wealth of perspectives and diverse perspectives to us. We're so lucky to have them with us in Seattle tonight. So I'd like to introduce them to you, starting off with Alan Organsky. Alan, come on out. Hi, Alan. Hi, Alan. Alan Organsky is partner and principal at GOA Architecture, a practice in New Haven, Connecticut, which is internationally recognized for its integration of building design, construction, and environmental research. So Alan is super committed to advancing the profession towards more regenerative design. But what I really appreciated about you, Alan, spending the weekend with you, is how you are really trying to expand our thinking about architecture in the built environment and how it touches on so many different aspects of our planet and inspiring us to do better in how we think about that. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lauren. And
Yay.
thank you guys for inviting me to this beautiful, powerful city. Thank you.
Wonderful. So next we have Armida Fernandez. Armida, come on out. Armida is co-founder of Estudio Ala, which is based in Guadalajara, Mexico. So she traveled a long way to be with us. Often designing for industrial and agricultural contexts, her firm is interested in honoring culture and tradition, but pushing the boundaries in what's possible in terms of materials, programs, and methodologies. So over the weekend, I've been so appreciative of Armita's deep interest in context. She kept asking all weekend, tell me more about the neighborhoods that these projects are in, tell me about who uses these buildings, tell me about the people that bring them to life. And so I really appreciate your humanistic lens that you bring to architecture. So thank you for being with us, Armita.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I feel very honored and grateful to be serving as a jury this year in the AIA Honor Awards. And something that I would really like to emphasize is the tremendous warmth and hospitality of all the AIA committee. Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, we have Nader Tehrani. Nader, come on out. Hi, Nader. Nader is the founding principal of NADA, an interdisciplinary practice based in Boston with works in infrastructure, urbanism, architecture, and installations. And I think through the weekend, I started thinking of Nader as our resident philosopher. I feel like you kept asking these deeper questions about how buildings and our discipline can do better, and you really believe in that radical power of architecture to make change and produce new ways of thinking. So thank you for being with us, Nader. Let's give a welcome to our jury. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm excited to hear a little bit from our jury. They're going to talk to us about their impressions of the work and celebrate all of the amazing things that we're doing here in Seattle. But I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about your impressions of Seattle. Armita, I know this was your first time in Seattle, so I'm curious what you thought about being here.
Well, it was a big surprise. The region is so powerful and beautiful, and I was really impressed with the Seattle culture and the strong relationship with nature and the natural materials, and this strong culture of building with laminated wood for more than 40 years, or probably, 60. Like, it really impressed me that. I believe that it's like a place that can be a really strong example for other states and other countries. And it was really nice to get into these different local neighborhoods.
Yes, you loved the neighborhoods. All right, Alan, how about you? I know you've been to Seattle before, but what was your impression this time visiting?
Yeah, I mean, Seattle sort of looms large in everybody's mind on the East Coast because, as I said, it's such a kind of powerful leader in architecture. And I have friends here. I have colleagues who I work with in construction here, mentors and students. It's an incredibly rich place for me to come and be reminded of what a deep architectural culture exists historically in the city and in the region, and also today in the profession. So I came here expecting really excellent, interesting work, and I was not disappointed.
Great. How about you, Nader? I know you spent a lot of time in Seattle over the years, but what were your impressions this time?
Well, yes, I've been fortunate to have been here for many years back and forth. I was introduced to Washington through the work of Cutler. The deep investment of materiality, detail, and craft, as well as a connection to nature, but being on a jury is different. I think we witnessed the emergence of new economic forces that produce new densities, new typologies, and new investments in urbanism. And I think something about the results, or the way that we formulated the results, will demonstrate that. Because as much as I believe that there were extraordinary submissions, not all of them will be recognized, not because of a lack of excellence, but because of an excess of excellence. But we focused on distinct problems and polemics that emerged, and I think hopefully tonight we'll hash that out.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about kind of the lenses that you brought to reviewing projects. I know that you all come from such different backgrounds and such different points of view in the profession. So what were those lenses that you brought to reviewing the projects at hand. Alan, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. I mean, I come from a kind of diverse set of backgrounds. I was a cabinet maker, then I had middle-class skills and went to architecture school. And then my practice has unraveled from small-scale design, build, construction projects to big global research on the impacts of the building sector to the environment, to society. And I think I'm really focused on how we're able to expand the criteria and concerns of architecture beyond the building assembly, the building, the site, the neighborhood, the city, to its planetary implications. And I think that requires a consciousness about ecology and ecosystems, about societies and people, about past and future cultures, about political economics, but also finding new ways to think about beauty that don't do damage to the places that we hope to inhabit for a long time and all the species who exist on the planet with us. So I think I brought that maybe bias to this discussion, knowing full well that the architects of Seattle and all their colleagues in the profession and other related professions would be delivering answers or first takes on those problems in the work that they were making.
Wonderful. How about you, Armida? What lenses did you bring to reviewing the projects this weekend?
Well, first of all, it was, I believe, a really complex task. There were like 109 submissions we had to revise, and it's really interesting that each one of the projects had something really interesting to give, to share. And usually we were talking like the last 3 days, how all these projects represent the region, the culture, and that have really specific complexities, as Nara has been mentioning, and how they can rethink the program, the typology, or even questioning the significance of different methodologies. Some have been doing like participatory design research, others like more laboratory, others research, and projects that create a common language between the place and the project. I believe that's really important. And being aware of these natural values, and at the same time, it's really important what Alex mentioned at the beginning, and being aware and critical of the time we live in. And I believe it's a very complex time, not only in the United States, in many other countries. So I believe it's important to, as designers, to all be aware of this.
Definitely. Nader, how about you? What lenses did you bring to your reviews this weekend?
So, with an investment between academia and practice, I think it's important that somehow new buildings, beyond problem solving and beyond fulfilling the criteria of clients, let's say, they produce new forms of knowledge. And they may do that in many ways. They may be inventive in certain material technologies, or they may be experimental and speculative, even to the limit of productive failures. And maybe that criteria of the productive failure is something that we somehow embraced, because maybe not all projects fulfilled their ambition, or even were not conscious of the latency of certain possibilities. But we are going to discuss that somehow tonight, and that became part of our criteria post facto, if you wish.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great lead off into the next topic at hand, which is the criteria that we use to review the projects this weekend. So the AIA Seattle has 4 criteria for the honor awards that the jury used as they were reviewing projects: inspiration, problem solving, social impact, and environmental sensitivity. And I wonder if quickly you just want to say any other criteria that you added as you were reviewing projects, as you got a sense of the context here. What did you add in terms of criteria to review the projects?
Well, we were all 3 of us talking a lot about projects that are a lesson, no? Projects that can inform, and projects that have a soul and that dignify the human spirit in different scales or in different specific areas, and projects that in a way resonate.
Yes, that ripple effect seemed to be important also for you, Alan, right?
I mean, I look at all these criteria that you guys have identified, and I think we know what has inspired us in the past. we need to find new sources of inspiration that are beyond the boundaries of what we expected to inspire us. You know, whatever that may be in your particular work. Problem solving is enough, but the problem has to be restated in the broadest possible terms with the broadest possible implications. A social impact isn't just doing nice things for the people you know, but it's trying to think beyond, way beyond the geographic boundaries that you're typically working in, to think about societies that may be affected, working within the building value chain that may be reflecting human exploitation, child slavery, you know, really trenchant problems that we don't typically see in our day-to-day specification of materials and design of buildings. And finally, environmental sensitivity. What does that mean to be sensitive to the environment? And where are our, what we considered best practices actually contradicting the goal of environmental sensitivity? If we're pumping plastic foams into our buildings to create a lot of insulation to make them thermally and operationally efficient, but we're using fossil hydrocarbons and embedding them in the built environment. So I think we have to kind of reset the terms, and we were looking for that in our discussions constantly.
Yeah, I think, Nader, you kind of brought that up of looking for a project that was doing something different, right? Changing the way that we were thinking.
And many times we were looking at buildings, but actually you were looking at their urbanistic performance, their connection to the landscape, or their production process. How were they produced, and in what ways could they have an afterlife if they were taken apart? So there's a lot of narratives that are not about the building proper, but what happens before or after it.
Yeah, I think that kind of total life cycle of the building was a conversation that kept coming up over and over again, which is becoming a topic that we all care so much more about now than ever before. So it was nice to really see you all dig into that and ask those hard questions. So, okay, so let's get into it. Let's move into the awards portion. And just a reminder that we have 4 categories of awards that we'll be announcing tonight. The Award of Honor, the Energy and Design Award, the Award of Merit, and the Honorable Mention. And if you are in the audience and your project does receive an award, we just ask that you stand up and be recognized so we can celebrate you all together as a community. So please don't be shy. Please stand up and let us celebrate you. Okay, so are we ready to get into it? Seattle, are you out there? Okay. All right, so let's begin with the honorable mention category. We have 3 projects tonight receiving an honorable mention, and the first honorable mention award goes to Ceramic Studio by Go See. Are you out here? I see someone back there. Okay. Congratulations.
So, I think this is a good place to start. It's a classic Seattle kind of structure, modest in its dimensions, and though it's called a ceramic studio, it's really an ADU. It can work as an addition to a house, essentially another unit, and but its particular sensitivity to the landscape, the way that it absorbs the landscape and frames a courtyard between the house and the structure, and the simplicity of its detailing and the rawness of its finishes gives it a kind of nobility.
But it's interesting because, you know, we expect that. Sorry, guys, the bar is really high here. But I think what really struck us was that, as Nader said, its argument was about being an ADU, positioning itself on the site, creating greater density in a neighborhood, more housing. And then we were sort of looking at Askewed and saying, well, it's an art studio, so is it really an ADU? And I think we came to the really strong conclusion that it didn't matter, that it was a way of showing that inhabitation can happen in very different ways to enliven and densify our cities. And so we really praise that for that.
And the architectural part is really beautiful. It has a lot of clarity. It is simple but bold at the same time, and it fosters this kind of arts and craft that I believe it's nice to have all these workshops there that are really important to connect as well.
with community. It's a recognition that these new densities are going to produce new forms of urbanism. So it's, while this is just a small structure, it's indicative of things to come.
Exactly. Great. Well, congratulations again to GoSee. Okay. The next honorable mention award goes to Hillclimb by Workshop AD. Woo, are you over there? Oh, there you are.
Congratulations, Workshop AD. I think at a moment when the architectural community and the regulatory community is really reevaluating whether we need to escape stairs in multi-story buildings, that we could really start to study an honorific stair that celebrates circulation. I mean, thinking about the way that you move through a section of a building and you're drawn to light and turn back through the building and testing different scenarios for how you might organize space around that single dramatic stair, which is actually a lovely communal space if you think about it in the best buildings. So that really captured our imagination, and the section is absolutely...
You guys love these sections. They would not stop talking about these sections, you guys.
And it's a really nice opportunity to understand like mass timber for an affordable project, and how I believe it's a good lesson on how every project has its own flow site dynamics, and this project has thought about that.
What's also exciting about it is that it emerges from a well-known type. I mean, it reminds me of some of the kind of old loft buildings in New York of the turn of the century, but with certain key transformational moments. The light at the end of the corridor, a terminus on the roof with a collective space, all of these render it into a new form of urbanism also.
Yes. Well, congratulations again to Workshop AD. Okay, and our third and final honorable mention award of the night goes to Hinoki by PYATOK Architecture and Urban Design. Give it up. Are you here?
Well, in this case, we celebrate really interesting relationships, the relationship between the public and the private. The urban design and the close relationship with the city, and the integration of the laminated wood through these alleys and the double high porticos that you can see from these photos, and the cross ventilation, and something that it was really powerful when we visited, it is that it's really embracing and integrating local community. It fosters even the methodology of a participatory design research, and it's affordable. So I believe it's really nice when a project like that has the community and at the same time has this kind of idiorhythmia that you can understand how each one has the rhythm to live in community, but at the same time in an individual way.
It's easy to misread this complex as an object, but actually, for those of you who visited it, you know that there's a drop of 30 feet from the top to the bottom of the site. So what I like to describe it as is the construction of a ground. That 30 feet is a crust that is fully urbanized and has public, semi-public, semi-private spaces, and it's urbanism that is to some degree to be celebrated.
Yeah, and I think that idea of publicity and managing passage and circulation and vertical and horizontal and celebrating it at the ends of corridors with light and air, it's like a transcalar publicity that it creates in the building, and I think that's really great. And it's hard to do big, dense, maximum build-out buildings, and we need really good models of how to change scale, such as in that incredible two-story walkway, and how to develop scale by making windows seem larger than they really are. I mean, these are moves that are really hard to do on a super tight budget in a big building, and I think that one of the discussions that this generated was, how much architecture do you have to put into this? Like, where can you let the building be what it is in a simple way? Where is it too much? And I think the architects were clearly asking those questions here.
Definitely. And I think, Armida, you were really excited about the porosity of this building and even wishing that there was more porosity, right? That we could even move through these spaces.
Yeah, like I believe there are really important projects in the area that it's really nice when you make this courtyard public, no? Like how it permeates, it makes porosity. So the relationship between that apartments, the ground floor, and the city, I believe it's really strong.
Great. Okay, well, congratulations again to all of the honorable mention recipients. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to move into the Young Voices selection. So you'll get to hear from some of the young voices in our community, and it's my pleasure to introduce them. They're going to come out, and they're going to talk a little bit about their deliberation process and how they selected one built project from all of the submissions to be recognized as their Young Voices selection. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to our Young Voices, Aaron Wong, Jaron Khan, and Jeremy McGlone. Come on out. Okay, so I'll tuck in here. All right, so we're so happy to have you all with us tonight. I know the committee was really impressed with all of the deep discussions and thoughtful considerations that you gave to this award, so thank you for doing this for us and being part of this honor awards this year. So I want to just ask you to give us a little window into your process. As you were reviewing all 109 projects, what criteria did you use to evaluate them? Jeremy?
Yeah, as we started kind of reviewing all these amazing projects, kind of as young professionals, just starting out and doing, I guess, very different types of work, we were really excited about kind of celebrating a project that brought maybe a unique or fresh perspective about what it meant to practice architecture and kind of celebrated Seattle in itself.
Definitely. Jaron, how about you?
I think most of our conversation were revolving around constraint-driven creativity and how the impact radius can be expanded or stretched up to not only confined into within a few, or rather more robust, celebrating greater extent people, context, culture, everything all together.
Yeah, I think you brought a really great lens to all of that. Okay, Erin, are you ready to announce this year's winner of the Young Voices selection?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's go.
The award goes to Station Space by Side by Side Architects.
Woohoo!
And we selected Station Space because of how it celebrates the design process and collaboration. It's a powerful testament to how listening and care are design tools to create a project that, as a result, creates transformational stability for 5 organizations.
Listening and care as design tools. That's really powerful. Jeremy, what did you love about this project?
Yeah, we thought it was just this amazing project that took kind of a Seattle icon for both its kind of transit and architectural history, and then it really turned it into kind of a community hub that was projecting a future kind of vision for these 5 organizations and pretty much anyone that is kind of blessed to be able to be a part of them. And the architecture celebrated that in this kind of really interesting mixture between this new intervention, but also this kind of exposure of the old and this past, kind of present and future.
Yeah, kind of merging all 3 and designing for an unknown future. Jaron, how about you?
Yeah, one important aspect when we were talking about all this project was when we are choosing one that should explain or that should reflect how we as the young voices, the next generation architect would aspire the narration of design profession be. That is like challenging the conventional narration. So we really hope this project sets a great example of how we would see the future narratives for design professions.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much to our young voices, and congratulations again to the project team. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. Nice job. It's so nice to hear from our young designers. I think that's so important. Wouldn't you agree, Alan?
I mean, I feel like I've just been put on notice by... No, I mean, the thing that really struck me about the decision, and I think we all felt this about this incredible project, but I think what we're being reminded by these guys is that architecture isn't just the kind of sole production of a great vision by a single person or even a firm, but rather the orchestration. Architecture is the orchestration of a huge number of people and the embrace of the designers who are all part of a really larger community, rather than just that sort of singular architectural artifact. And so I feel really, really inspired by the decision and the work of this firm.
And it really resonates with all the different conversations we had the last 3 days, like about porous, reuse, adaptability, and it's rethinking in a way the program and in fostering community. And I believe this is part as well of the profession. Yeah.
How about you, Nader?
Look, the project also has this element of interventions that are tactical, somehow strategic, and indicative of larger transformations that can happen over time. And I think some of the other awards may be indicative of this at another scale.
Yes, we'll see more of this for sure. Okay, are we ready to continue to the next round of awards? Is everybody ready? Okay. So next we will cover our Award of Merit. And there are 8 projects receiving the Award of Merit tonight. So let's dig in. What, did I say something? Did I? Oh, yes, we have 8. Get ready. Okay, so the first Award of Merit goes to the Washington School for the Deaf, Divine Academic and Hunter Gymnasium from Mithun. Yay! Woo-hoo. Congratulations.
There are many qualities to this project, but I will point out 2 that are of great significance to the discussion that we have. The first is that, of course, being a project for the deaf, it's a project that had to formulate criteria that are not optical in the first instance. And architecture being a discipline that is visual and is dominated by issues of composition, this had to kind of figure out other ways that incorporate the other senses. And then secondly, if you look at the plan carefully, it is one of those projects that is less invested in its own objecthood, but rather the reframing of a campus, the way it makes a campus urbanism, the way it forms a courtyard, and the way that it makes spaces flow through the liminal gaps between things. And well, we can say much more about its craft and all of that, but I'll let others do that.
I know, and I believe it's as well like an opportunity for the students to really learn and live this space with mass timber. I really wish to have these kind of buildings in our country. It's really difficult to have them. Probably for the region, for you it's really common, but for me, we don't have them in Mexico, and I believe it's a really strong opportunity for other universities to understand these kind of programs and at the same time the constructive systems.
Yeah, we saw a lot of really interesting hybrid structures. I think what I like about it is how legible this building is. I think it's very, very clear. And as Nader, you were saying, the idea that you suddenly take a building campus which is filled with these object buildings, and you weave these more linear folded buildings to create a sequence of spaces from parking through into the greater campus is just done so simply. And I think simplicity is a really important criteria that we didn't mention earlier on, which is we can't keep making really complex buildings because it costs too much in so many different economic evaluations, environmental impact, cost, effort. And I think this building just feels really sober and yet very lovely. So I can really congratulate the team.
The jury also looked at the actual way in which the boards were laid out as an argument.
Yeah, you liked this presentation.
The way it formed its argument was important because, you know, coming from, let's say, a legacy of universal design, the way that this recognizes pluriversality as the basis for the recognition of people of many abilities renders a very positive view about the world in general, not just a school of this kind.
Yeah, and I think we'll be talking about the sort of rhetorical value of visualizations and constructing that argument through the drawings. I think that's a really important point that you raised.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot over the weekend. Okay, well, let's congratulate Mithun again. Congratulations on your Award of Merit. Okay, the next Award of Merit goes to, I feel like I need a drum roll. I wish we had that up here. The next Award of Merit goes to The Loyal Captain by Heliotrope Architects. Heliotrope? Alan, you really liked this project, didn't you?
Well, we all really liked it. I feel like we're shifting scale dramatically. Look, we all see beautifully crafted, luxurious projects published all over. And I think it almost comes now for me with a little bit of a bias, like, it's a really expensive, rich project. But when we saw it, and we actually saw that it was dealing with a historically listed building with incredible constraints as to how you would add on to it, that even the idea that the fireplace needed to be protected, and so the architects made the move of pulling back so that the fireplace became a sort of object with light reflecting down it, or the relationship between some of these axes that came out of the original house through the new house into the garden. It seemed very, very integrative and powerful. And the last thing that was my impression was that despite its relative luxury and obviously deft handling, I can imagine this building not having the material, deft, careful, precise, craftsman-like material treatments, and still as a partie for an addition, small addition to an existing icon. It didn't need all the expense. It didn't need all that. This partie was really strong as well. So I think that really struck us when we were able to see it.
It's really nice, like the subtle of the intervention, like it from the outside, and there's like a couple of images over there that we can see before and after, and it really disappears. But when you are inside, then it connects the pre-existing, and at the same time, it connects with the landscape. So in a way, it's very thoughtful.
How about you, Nadir?
It's in a modest neighborhood, actually, and then somehow when you see it from the street, the front face of it almost looks like a retaining wall. So it's stealth and very understated, while on the opposite side, the layering of space from the glass volume to the kind of eating porch to the circulation produces layers of landscape as it peels out into the lawn.
Yeah, we had a great time visiting this project and experiencing all the different levels in which it reaches out in the landscape. Okay, congratulations again to Heliotrope. Okay, the next Award of Merit goes to Reframe Residence by Studio PHH Architecture. Congratulations.
Well, we celebrate this adaptive reuse domestic project that in a way rethinks the life of the project before and the after, and the relationship with its context, because from the outside it's really, silent as well, but from the inside, the relationship to the landscape and to the exterior, it's really powerful. We really hope to visit it, but it was a little bit far. And I would love to visit all the different projects. And I believe it's a really good example of how to work with the pre-existence and going further. Yeah.
It's probably a good counterpoint to the previous project too. Yeah. If the other project was well integrated into its context through the gaps and the enfilades of existing corridors, this one projects out of the existing roofline a new monumentality. I mean, essentially the figure of the roof aligns itself with the view of the landscape and projects itself as a cabin into the landscape, and is very powerful. Though quite small, ultimately.
Yeah, I think it's just I think the simplicity of the move, I don't even want to say it's an obvious move, but really the sort of directness of that move in relationship to the landscape. It wasn't trying to wave its arms and call out its name. It was really just there. And I think it's evident in the photographs that we're seeing, the simplicity and the recognition that the land will do the work for you in this case.
Yeah, and I think it's just to give you a little window into deliberations, you guys were so interested in the adaptive reuse projects and really trying to understand all of the different ways that designers here are thinking about that question, approaching it, the different scales of it, and I just appreciate that discussion. Is there anything else that you want to say about that?
I think that's really important. I mean, obviously we can build with all the wood we can to store carbon and hopefully restore forests through the process if we do it absolutely right. But in the end, we need the support of existing building stock and protecting that and utilizing it in creative ways. And that's really where I think designers go to work in the true sort of principles of circular economy, where you start with the existing thing and you make it better with as few means as possible. So, I think this, in a way, embodies a concern that we carried through the entire discussion.
Definitely. Well, congratulations again to Studio PHH Architecture. Okay, the next award of merit goes to Form Follows Fiber, Designing for and After Disassembly from atelierjones. atelierjones? Stand up. Yes, congratulations.
I kind of had to recuse myself because I've known the work of atelierjones, Susan, her students, and to me this represents like a lifelong study, in deep study, and a kind of community of study and knowledge procurement that is in this series of tests, scenarios, details. All of it is accruing into really meaningful work, and it's generating a whole new way of reading the code, the building code. So I think these kinds of consistent longitudinal exploration is really what we should all be doing through our practices. And so this has been an inspiration.
For me, this is exciting, with one foot into academia, is that it's not just a project, it's an intellectual project. And you have to almost set up your office with a business model that sort of contributes back into research that is able to inform not only your own practice, but others' practices, because they impact a great change in the overall construction landscape.
And I know the kind of student learning component was really important to all of you. I know, Armida, that was something that you brought up a lot.
Yeah, it's really interesting how through different layers of time, different semesters, the students come around and then you make this research, and through time, the research gets bolder and thicker and more thoughtful, and I believe it's really important that the research, in a way, give this to the practice and the practice to the research. We need to do more research, all of us.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that students are witnessing but also putting their hands into it, and it's touching all scales, is really probably the best educational model you can think of.
Yes, it's a wonderful project. So congratulations again to atelierjones. Okay, the next award of merit goes to Whidbey Puzzle Prefab by Wittman Estes. Where are you? Stand up. Congratulations.
I think this is also a great example of what I believe seems to be longitudinal research, where you're testing different ideas at different scales and different applications. And this is just very well documented as a system that is obviously here placed in a very luxurious, beautiful site. Thankfully, such sites exist in this beautiful region, but also just a rigor in how to test and then actually construct details that make this thing feasible. And I know that it will become more cost effective, it will be more applicable in different kinds of sites than just rural ones. And that's part of the research. And we were really, I think, inspired by the promise of what this could deliver, not just the building itself.
It's very powerful. How can this project, we were thinking that it's even more like a prototype than a type form. And I believe it's really nice to think like that, other projects, how we can do more prototypes and less type forms. And from there, I mean, this image is amazing, how there are different types or different programs or typologies that in a way make it flexible, porous.
This house reminds me that there are at least a dozen other impeccable houses that we reviewed that we're not going to see tonight. They all had sophisticated designs, plan making, section making, and even construction processes. And somehow, this one, because of the question of prefabrication and installation, kind of rose to the top. But it's also a recognition that there is clearly a design culture out there that is being communicated and disseminated that is very powerful.
Yeah, I think that this one performed really high on the energy consumption and metrics that every project was asked to submit. So I know that really resonated with all of you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you can make something that performs at the highest level, in terms of, let's say there is a higher bar that we all have to meet, but this is a high level of performance operationally. And if you can now replicate that through mass production and mass customization, I think we achieve the kind of scales we need in transforming our energy consumption.
And I know the modularity was something that you all talked about a lot with this project, and just being really interested in that as a way to approach design. Could you just say a little bit more about why modularity was something that really excited you?
Because it's not about the house itself. It's about a system that is replicable across a huge construction landscape. And so it has a larger scalar impact if it's deployed and thought of within that other scale.
Yeah, and modularity in and of itself doesn't necessarily answer the problem. You have to also build the industries that can support more close, smaller building supply chains, more local building supply chains, so that you can make that work economically. So I think it is really exploring all of those issues.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations again to Wittman Estes. Okay, so our next award of merit goes to State Street Apartments by Public 47 Architects. Please stand. Please stand up. Where are you? Congratulations.
As a building type, this is something that the jury was committed to look at. We looked at many housing blocks. And this is indicative of that transformation of the urban fabric that I've witnessed over the last 20 years, 25 years of visiting Seattle. I believe this is called the 1+5 or something to that effect, but it is indicative of the kind of arms race that has been produced by the objecthood of other housing blocks similar to this, with too much color, too much detail, too much architecturalness. So what was interesting about this one is first a commitment to the urbanism of the ground floor, what we call live-work, you call work-live, if I'm not wrong. And a way that it engages the street, a commitment to other public amenities on the top of the roof, but also some very difficult layouts that are done with a kind of ethic of existence minimum, but very deftly delivered. And then finally, the kind of permanence that is worked into the financial pro forma, the idea that it can be done in brick with a certain level of permanence. And then finally, a character that offers itself less as an object in competition, but rather a textile as a part of the building fabric that it makes around it. So at the end of the day, while this could be seen as rather conventional in the legacy of 20th century modernism, very unique in the North American landscape.
And what it was really impressive is by visiting it, and we realized it was, I believe, if I'm not wrong, 30%, affordable, which it's really difficult in nowadays to make all this kind of affordability. It was even beautiful that it has all these different places very thoughtful for different users, even for pets.
60% dog owners.
Exactly.
A great dog wash station.
There's a great water station.
No, and I think, kudos also to the city of Seattle for recognizing ways to guarantee permanence of affordability within buildings like this by offering, incentives like an added floor or increased FAR so that you can guarantee that the affordability remains embedded in the building for its lifetime. I think that kind of regulatory invention, where we've seen it not quite work in other cities, is really something to celebrate as well. So I hope you guys take full advantage of that.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations again to Public 47 Architects. Okay, we're getting down there. Okay, the next award of merit goes to Hudson Cloverleafs by Tsuga Studio. Congratulations. Woo! See you in the back. Congratulations. This was another project where you all immediately responded.
Exactly. I mean, first of all, in our drives around, we saw this as another emerging typology that has been around for about 10, 20 years. I'm not sure, but it's extending the suburban fabric from the 2-story to the 3-story. This one, by coupling them into the Cloverleafs, 4 and 4 produces 8, and the pinwheel effect produces interesting liminal spaces between the units and then views back out. Some of them not unproblematic, but still very interesting. And the litmus test ultimately came down to whether the dimension of the module actually worked with a living room, a double bedroom, and then let's say the master suite at the top. And then fundamentally what was most impressive is that when you put it all together, it produces a kind of morphology of smaller houses because of the roofscape and the breakdown of the volume, which is quite effective in the context in which it lives.
I really appreciate Nader and I talked a lot about this, this sort of game that you play as a designer to try to just simple rotation of form and testing what that does to create a street front or a series of entryways, and where it breaks down and how it fails and how you fix that as you develop it. And I see this, this isn't perhaps a truly affordable house, a workforce house, but it's not intending to be a luxury house. It's the beginning of the kind of experimentation, knowledge building that was really a focus for us all along the way. And I think we can see a strategy like this multiplying and taking new forms that are really effective in this densifying of more suburban, lower scale neighborhoods.
And in there it looks kind of dense, but once you are there are really interesting spaces in between as well that are really intuitive, and when you are there are not easy to read. So there are like little clusters that in a way are opportunities where you connect with the neighbor, and then it's really interesting because in a way it's a reinterpretation of a typology of a like a very classic house, no, local house.
And if you study the plan, the dimension of the stair to the unit is unreasonably large. But then, when you look at the way that the light descends down into it, where the office space and ingle nooks emerge around it, all of a sudden you realize that the stair is actually an inhabitable space, as you were saying.
And a critical one, actually, to the plan. Yeah.
It's really nice that each one of them has a corner. So it's really nice, the quality of light, of wind, of views. It really has a really good quality of space.
Yes. Well, congratulations again to Tsuga Studio. Okay, the last one, the last award of merit for the night. So the last award of merit goes to Memory Landscapes by Robert Hutchison Architecture. Are you here?
Well, actually, we wish to give this project an honor. By rule, we couldn't. But
right, it's a conceptual project, so it wasn't eligible.
But it really, it was so refreshing for the three of us and for the conversation. It was really stimulating and brings the question of what constitutes a wall, and a wall in many different senses. Is questions and rethinks the border, the line, and an opportunity to dissolve the edges, to make it thicker, and to make form from a line a place. Like these powerful images and drawings, like from a line, bring the place, and I believe and I believe Anna and Nara are really like into this conversation when we were like, this is very refreshing and has a lot of like conceptual part and opportunity to see it in different scales, in different geographical locations, and something that it's really interesting is that as well, it approached the architecture through storytelling, through spatial narratives, and weaving, and as well it remember us the power of drawing that we have been probably lose. And the representation by itself, we can see these amazing drawings, that hand drawings or even digital drawings. The representation by itself, it's a project.
I think this draws so much from Japanese contemporary visualizations and film and the manga tradition. These drawings are just absolutely gorgeous. They could be entered in a drawing competition. They could be qualified as a rigorous study of civic architecture, structure. There's so much in this. I think we were all fighting to want to kind of do the opening presentation of this. So, anyway, but having been to some of these seawalls that have been built around the Fukushima, and seeing this and appreciating how suddenly I realized that it had to be critiqued through a kind of evocative storytelling like this, I fell in love with it, and I think we all did.
And maybe fundamental to this research is the idea that architects don't actually build, they draw. And that drawing or representation is a projective act, and it envisions things that may not have precedence. They may be rooted in culture, but they are projecting a new reality, and I think this achieves that in many, many ways.
And that's a lesson, actually, for all of us in all of the projects we work on, to speculate beyond the very problem that we're supposed to solve.
Yeah, I was really interested to hear you all speak about this possibility for designers to do that speculation in drawings, in the way that you present your projects, that you can give us a sense of what the future could be of those projects, right? Yeah, and I think you even were asking for more of that, right? In the submissions, that you wanted to see more of how you all can represent your buildings in a way that gives a signal to what those futures could be.
Yeah, it's like the old Dragnet episode, which of course dates me terribly. I think there are probably like 10 people in the audience who gets that reference. But it's, the cop comes in and says, "Just the facts, ma'am." I think we have this mentality that in presenting stuff, we need to make really nice drawings of the things we made. But if we can make great presentations of the thing that it could become and that what it would do to change society or a city, I think that's really important. And I think this project did that.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations again to all of this year's Award of Merit winners. Okay, how are we doing out there? We still here? Okay? Woo? Okay. All right, so we're going to shift gears a little bit before we go to the Award of Honor, the highest level of recognition for the awards. Before we do that, we're going to look at the Energy in Design Award. And so I'd like to invite the University of Washington Integrated Design Lab on stage. Please join us up here to contextualize this award and share metrics on how this year's built project submissions measured up. So let's welcome Heather Burpee from the Integrated Design Lab to the stage. Heather? Welcome. Hi, welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Lauren. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me. And it is just an honor to see everyone and see so many great projects celebrated. The Integrated Design Lab is excited to partner with AIA Seattle and the Energy and Design Award, which recognizes innovation in design for reduced energy consumption. I'd like to thank Better Bricks for sponsoring the award. And I'd also like to thank my colleagues at the Integrated Design Lab, especially Teresa Moro-Seos and UW Architecture graduate student Saching Han. They're the ones who helped compile the submission data this year, and they do a ton of work to get this together.
Okay, so Heather, tell us about the Energy and Design Award. What is it all about?
Yeah, so the Energy and Design Award celebrates projects that have achieved exemplary energy performance. It uses the 2030 Challenge as a key benchmark. The 2030 Challenge calls for new buildings and major renovations to achieve net zero carbon emissions by the year 2030. To meet that challenge, projects must meet energy reduction targets that approach net zero energy. So what that looks like is for projects permitted between 2015 and 2019, the target reduction is 70%. For projects permitted between 2020 and 2024, the challenge level increases to 80%, and those permitted in 2025 and forward need to meet a 90% reduction in energy use threshold. For this year's Honor Award submissions, we had submissions in each of the 70, 80, and 90% reduction categories.
Wow. Those are some high benchmarks that projects have to meet.
They sure are.
Yeah, so tell us about how the projects did this year. How did the projects this year measure up to years past?
Yeah, so about half the design firms that submitted projects to the Honor Awards are signatories of the 2030 commitment. 96 projects were evaluated for their energy performance, and about 10% of the projects submitted met the 2030 challenge reductions. One key benchmark we look at is how the projects do overall, and this year we see a 60% overall energy reduction compared to a 2003 baseline across all of the submitted projects.
60%, that's amazing. 60% reduction.
Yeah, let's recognize that as a huge success. It's also an indicator that's been ramping up each year. In 2023, it was 53%, 2024, 56%, and this year, 60%. And part of this is due to the code baselines are shifting upwards, but much of it's due to the innovation of our local design community. So congrats to all of you for that achievement.
Wonderful. So you mentioned that 96 built projects submitted data for this award. What did you see when you looked at those 96 projects?
Yeah, I'd like to show the top performers in the group. So these are the top 20 energy performing projects that were submitted. And all of these projects are outstanding, including those that nearly made the 70 to 90% reduction thresholds. These projects represent a spectrum of typologies, including laboratories, libraries, commercial office buildings, higher ed, grocery stores, K-12 education, performing arts, and single-family residences. I'd like to step back for a minute and look at what it means to meet an 80 to 90% energy reduction. This bar is so high that even projects that are exemplary in energy performance aren't necessarily crossing this threshold. For example, large, complex buildings, existing buildings, and those with other constraints. These projects have traveled an incredible distance in energy efficiency, and they show us that these energy efficiency achievements are doable in all kinds of buildings. And I want to recognize AIA Seattle and the members here, all of you today, that by gathering and submitting this data for the Honor Awards and showcasing the energy performance of the projects that you submit, we recognize its importance in elevating high-performance design and energy efficiency as a design ideal.
Wonderful. Okay, so which projects actually met the threshold of the 2030 challenge and were eligible for this award?
Yes, of the projects submitted, 10 projects, and that's 10% of the submitted projects, met the 2030 challenge thresholds and were considered for the Energy and Design Award. We're excited to recognize the projects that qualified for the Energy and Design Award here on the screen. Please join me in a round of applause to congratulate these teams.
Okay, should we announce the winner? Okay, so the Energy and Design Award goes to Deschutes County Redmond Library by the Miller Hole Partnership. Miller Hole. Stand up. Stand up.
We recognize this civic project because of its energy performance and also because it's intuitive and beautiful design. Intuition sometimes it has been lost, and it's really nice how by applying these passive cooling systems too, like in a very sensible way, the long roof protecting the double high glass facade, the perimeter porticos around that in a way make a really nice transition between the exterior and the interior, the porosity we have been talking about, and it's really nice. It has this laminated wood, the CLT, and it's really nice to have a civic project like that. It has been really interesting.
Yeah, I love the way the big overhangs do sort of double duty of creating solar shading, high angle sunlight, but also a monumental civic scale. So that architecture doesn't just have to signify its sustainability, it can use it to do other really good, powerful architectural things, like identify a civic monument. And I think we also appreciated that this was going into a highly public building that would serve an entire community. So the fact that all those points were hit felt like a really integrated, thoughtful solution to high performance design.
With relative restraint also.
Yes, that's right.
I say restraint, not referring to its monumentality, which it does have, its civicness, but a material palette that at the end of the day is super limited and raw, and very indicative of the function of each of its elements.
Congratulations again to the Miller Hole Partnership for the Energy and Design Award. And we have a surprise for you. We actually have a second Energy and Design Award to announce this year. The jury couldn't pick just one, so we are happy to announce that the second Energy and Design Award goes to Arrow Homes by Olson Kundig. Congratulations. Olson Kundig. Okay.
Well, we've been talking about research and experimentation. We can add collaboration with, non-architect partners, industry, which we talked about with the Whidbey puzzle prefab. But this one is really looking at fitting into neighborhoods where any set of issues like building form and context and even NIMBYism might play a role, and yet really focusing on modularity, system building, context and scale of typical American, mid-rise residential neighborhoods, and then really hitting the ball out of the park in terms of energy performance. And so I think that ongoing research really struck us. And we wanted to reward both a building like the Redmond Library, which is a big building and therefore scales energy through size, energy efficiency through size, and another one where modularity, replication, prototypicality and replication can broadcast good energy performance across large areas through applications of this building and type commercially, and thereby broadcast energy performance as well, and all the benefits that come out of the scaling energy performance.
Anything else to add?
Just a comment about authorship. I mean, as architects, we're so often called on to have a vision of an extraordinary artifact. In this case, that vision is disseminated into a system that others can deploy to other ends. But the scalar possibilities of a project like this are immense if you think that they can be deployed through the hands of others.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations again to Olson Kundig, Energy and Design Award. And before we switch gears, I just wanted to ask the jurors if you have any final reflections about the Energy and Design Award or any impressions that you'd like to share.
I would say...
I know you do.
I'm like, where do I start? I think in a way, energy performance, operational energy performance, which has been such a focus of our sustainability efforts for so long, is now coming to fruition, and it's an effort that we have to continue. But on the other hand, I kind of think the energy performance at high levels is also a kind of proxy and a first test of all the other kinds of impacts we can try to mitigate and even reverse through the design decisions that we make. So I guess what I'd like energy to be is at once something we want to reduce the consumption of, and also understand that it stands in for a whole set of implications and consequences that come out of building, like carbon emissions, we talk a lot about that, the material selection processes that we make, the devastation that we do to land areas and lands that we convert ecologically into other uses so that we can mine minerals or cut down trees, and we have to do it with a lot of care. So I hope we could almost expand what you do to include a whole other set of criteria with the same kind of rigor that you've helped us, you've actually done, you've analyzed. So that's my take on this, while also congratulating the amazing work too.
Yes, let's congratulate the winners once again, all the qualifying projects, and thank you, Heather, for joining us. I'm actually going to ask everybody to just take a little break and stand up before we move into the Award of Honor, the highest category of recognition. I know we've all been sitting for a little while, so let's just take a little stretch break. Don't go anywhere. Don't leave. Don't leave. I see you. Come back. Okay? Okay? All right. So we're about to move into the most exciting, well, this is all exciting, but this is the big award, you guys. This is the big one. This is like the Oscars for the architecture community, okay? So let's get to it, everybody. Take your seats. Take your seats. Okay. So we're moving into the Award of Honor. This is the highest honor that AIA Seattle awards to projects. Before we get into that, I want to ask the jurors, how did you decide which projects made it to this highest level? What made them tip the scales for you? Can you give us a little more context into how you decided? Nader.
Well, it was anything but natural. We went towards what we would assume would be excellence, perfection.
Perfection?
Reconciliation between part and whole. Scalar development of a project from site plan all the way down to the detail. But the reality is that there were too many other issues that I referred to in the introduction that came into it. The externalities of a project that have to do with its life cycle implications, its production processes, its connection to the landscape or to the city, or to latent opportunities that may not have been articulated but are present right outside of its drawing. And so at the 11th hour, I think we all did a backflip and
did
our criteria, and I'll let somebody else tell you how that happened.
Because you don't remember, we were too confused?
No, I'm trying to spread the love here.
Yeah, that wouldn't be possible, I think, for Nader to be confused by anything. But no, I think that I think we found ourselves wanting not just to celebrate the most precious, beautiful designs, but ones that they implied something greater than the building that they'd made. And I don't know how to put that exactly. I think you'll see it. But what I would say is that they may have been excellent, and yet what they were really doing is putting something on the table for us that could be utterly transformative of how we make buildings, where we make buildings, for whom we make buildings, and what those buildings can do as public space and intimate space as well. So I think for us, promise, a next future. You said initiation versus an endpoint earlier. I think that was really finally the thing we were looking for. Could this tell us something more about architecture, culture, society, consumption, and just beauty?
And it was really interesting because the three of us, now that we were like in this part of the award of honors, it really came into all these conversations. It was really a strong conversation that I believe it was really powerful, no? Like questioning our practice and understanding.
They really got into it, you guys. They had a debate. They were.
To be clear, it was all confluence until then, and then it exploded.
Nader said, we're going to get through this in 15 minutes, and it took about 2 hours, actually.
It's great. They thought really deeply about what this award meant to the larger profession and to our community, so thank you for that deep consideration and thoughtfulness. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's get into it. It's time for the big reveal. We have 5 projects receiving Award of Honor tonight. So again, this is the highest level of recognition. And the first Award of Honor goes to iolair by Gosi. Gosi, are you still here? Gosi, congratulations.
We celebrate this beautiful project that it's inserted in the urban, and this project has a very strong beauty composition and at the same time rethinks the program. It is a residence for artists which foster engagement with the local community and enhance cultural frames, promotes the question of how to design more for a collection of events and less for a collection of things or of objects, and it has some interesting, as we go through the photographs, but it's really nice how there are some spaces that are compressed, and there are some other spaces that you can have this double height where the artist can work, and then at the same time, you have all these, in a way, very clear and few palette of materials that is in a way very bold and clear.
Look, what I like about this project is the relationship between plan and section. As an L configuration, you would think that they would have to negotiate the figure of the roof, but it ends up being one figure. And that figure resolves itself also in the way that it ascends to the loft on the second story, but even more importantly, the way that it frames an outdoor space. The outdoor space is no longer a residue, it is the room that is created by them. So it's a very deft, morphological reconciliation. I love that.
Yeah, I think a small building on a small lot making a space as it does through very simple means is an inspiration for all of us trying to make simple, straightforward moves that are rich in results. And I think that happens, as you said, Armida, through the materiality. There's a kind of roughness in a way to the outside as well as precision. And I just think that's a kind of rich place to be. I also kind of think it's great that it's an artist in residence house, but I also think it doesn't matter in a sense. I think making these small houses and making efficient spaces out of them with the elegance that this one does is a real, as I say, a kind of promise for all of us as we look at increasingly small sites, less land area to build in, and finding the same identity in architecture that this one offers us.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations again to GOSI for iolair. Congratulations. Okay. The next award of honor goes to St. James Cathedral Portico by Gerrick Office. Congratulations. Are you here, Chris? Congratulations.
For those of you who are interested in churches and in the Catholic traditions, what is interesting about this is that even though the front facade is on the bottom of the hill, as you can see in this aerial view, it has two side entries, which recalls the kind of complex urbanistic condition of, let's say, Santiago de Compostela. The kind of the nave and the transept are not taken merely in an orthodox way. They're thought of as a crossroads. In this case, that crossroads is even more interesting because the center is where the apse would normally be. I mean, so the apse is not used as an apse. It's a circular kind of seating scenario in which everybody is looking at the transept, at the intersection where everything's coming together. More importantly, the new entry towards the north, is that correct? The north becomes the main entry because its orientation is to the parking lot, which makes it the only accessible entry. And for a city that has formidable topographies and inaccessible routes, this becomes a formidable and dignified way to enter the church.
I believe it's a really powerful example of how space is spiritual, and it really, in a way, dignifies. By doing this intervention, it dignifies this second entry, and there's a really great section, actually it would be great if we can see it, that it's in a drawing, that it's really interesting how this insertion, it's a hand drawing, and in this insertion, it's really interesting how it's just, probably it's really clear how it was designed in a section. And the importance of designing in a section as well, I believe it's really powerful.
Yeah, I'm really reminded of, obviously, Carlos Scarpa and this sort of sensitivity to very small moves with incredibly tactile materials and sudden, leaps of space. So when you walk through the doors, which are already pretty large, but nowhere near as monumental as the main entries, it celebrates what was a side door, and it makes it something that you want to enter into, which makes it more equal as well as accessible. More people are going to enter through that way. And so I think it's a lesson for us about how material and its deft handling can produce spirituality, as you say, but also attention. It's almost like an embodiment of us because we can experience these shifts in scale and size and material color changes. And I really felt like we all felt that we needed to include this as a celebration of a long tradition of ecclesiastical architecture being modernized, updated, and made more accessible.
Yes, could you tell us, I mean, we had the chance to visit this, and I think we all felt something when we walked into that, through that entrance. Could you just tell us what your impressions were when you walked into that new entrance to the church? What did it feel like?
Way smaller than we
It was smaller than you thought?
And I believe it's really interesting that in a small, like how through a small intervention, you can change dynamics, you can change hierarchies, you can rethink the hierarchy of one entrance to the other. You dignified. I believe this section I'm talking about handmade, we haven't seen it, but yeah, hopefully it will come through. But I believe it's a really strong message that it really doesn't matter the scale. What it really matters is like the message, no? And the thoughtful design and the detailed and how it's really solved.
And the skylight and the door are rather stealth when seen in the kind of urban landscape. Right. But the feeling, the affect of light as you walk through it is immaterial and quite beautiful, as you can see here in the right-hand side. It's just beautiful.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations again to Gerrick office. Okay, our next award of honor goes to West Canal Yards by Graham Baba Architects. Are you here? Stand up. Stand up. I don't know if they're here. Okay, West Canal Yards.
Yeah, another tiny project.
This is the project that turned everything upside down.
Yes,
this
that's
was the
right.
one, you guys.
The beginning of all of
everything
the
changed.
We're going to get into a little discussion here. It's good. So first of all, congratulations. It's wonderful to see a building that I think it was described as sort of stinky and fishy smelling turned into a really lovely promenade, public promenade, and an offering of different kinds of commercial, institutional space that might exist on a site that was clearly purely industrial. And we really felt that the architecture was strong, straightforward, beautifully detailed. The light that was brought into the transformation of tilt-up panel, hermetically sealed tilt-up panel refrigeration building into a very careful, well-lit, and easily legibly entered building was all really great. The kinds of spaces that were created by that cut through the middle of the building was wonderful. I think this is not a criticism, it's a request. I think one of the things that we really felt was that we wanted to know more about its potential future, not just as a leasable space with a nice amenity, but rather how a landscape of heat-producing pavement could be turned into a garden, or at least possibly even more sites for more buildings of different types that might not be expected in an industrial site. And it really brought up this discussion, and I'll leave it to my colleagues to elaborate on this, but this idea that what this project could do is start to tell us a lot more about a future of some abandoned history, that an industrial history that no longer exists, and that this shouldn't only be torn down. It was rebuilt and loved again, but what projective, what speculative work could this be? So that's what I think we wanted to know more about that, and I think that's why an honor award is appropriate here, because not only is it a really great building and a great solution and a salvage of a unloved kind of building, it also tells us where a future might go, and I think we want to address that a little bit here.
Well, first of all, that this promenade leads to the water was an important one.
Beautiful.
And the notion that one could reclaim the waterfront is something important for Seattle, because there is a considerable amount of it that is privatized. So, but also there's a kind of inevitable obsolescence of many of these industrial matte buildings. So imagining new uses and new vocations for them, even housing potentially. But beginning to imagine what would happen if this were not the design of a building, but the design of an urbanism and a planning that fosters a connectivity with other neighborhoods.
And it's important to remark that this project is not transformed. Like, we believe it's in transformation. Like, it has to be transformed, and in a way it's alive. It's a project that these kind of projects began not through ni 5 years ago, neither 10 years ago. It began when it started the industrial part, and then it has been going, and the question is, what will it be then? And it's a project that in a way it's constantly adapting, and in a way has this kind of rethinking the program, the typology, the relationship between the waterfront and the industrial area. So I believe it's a project that in a way is specializing this transformation.
Yes, it has that transformative potential that I know is really important to you, Armida, and came up a lot in our conversations of what could these buildings do for their communities and how can they continue to evolve into the future. So congratulations again to Graham Baba Architects. Congratulations. Okay, the next award of honor goes to Modular Fire Station 67 by Wittman Estes. Stand up. Congratulations.
So my introduction to this will be quite brief because we've already launched the discussion about prefabrication, its ecological considerations, its production possibilities, but also its afterlife. But I think what this one does is that it adapts that ethic to a building type that A, is civic, and B, is composed of multiple span dimensions. And that leap in span and the accommodation of the fire trucks and its presence, if you like, in the landscape is rather a handsome one. And I think we all just fell in love with it immediately.
Yeah, this was love at first sight for them, you guys. They knew right away.
And we believe we were talking, it has a lot of opportunity to rethink as well these kind of civic places and how it can be reapplied in other typologies. And there's as well a really great diagrams that you can see the plans and the different configurations, and you have these longer trusts. But at the same time, you have these smaller modules that in a way through models and the longer or the shorter you can make space. This is the one that I am telling. So as well, we find it in a way like with a lot of knowledge and thoughtfulness.
Yeah, I'm struck by the obvious kind of polarity of something that is legible enough in its assembly to be taken apart and shipped to a site and reassembled is something that can also be disassembled at the end of its life. And that legibility and the clarity, we call it now design for disassembly, is something that this represents as much as its modularity, as do the other projects. Although this one's particularly, because of its kind of industrial civic nature, is particularly clear in that way. I guess the thing we really need to challenge is how much more can we do in this? How much, not only how do we take it apart or how do we configure it in many different ways, but how might we develop scenarios as architects for future uses for its parts and pieces? Because I think we can't just say we're designing for disassembly. I think we have to design for disassembly and reuse. And if we can't plan for reuse in the unlikely 60 or 20 or 50 years, whatever it is that we will take this building apart because it's no longer, it's the end of its service life, I think what we're doing is expanding even beyond the building life cycle from the effects on the ecosystem before we stick a first shovel in the ground to some set of multiple afterlives of buildings that we make. And so this is modular and it's beautifully studied, but it's also this promise that we were really concerned about for what we could do with a building at the end of its life through legibility, clarity, articulation, and all of the thought that goes into that.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations again to Wittman Estes. Okay, this is our final award of honor for the night. So the last award of honor goes to... Making sure you're still out there. The Snoqualmie Tribe Child Development Center by Boulder Associates. Congratulations, are you here? Stand up.
We celebrate the intentionality behind the work, the connection with the culture and enhancing community, and it's really interesting how it engaged not only but with the community but with the landscape in a it seems a place that it's not so big, and even though it's not big, it really has a thoughtful relationship with the street, with the inside garden, with the landscape, with the relationship of the scale of the users. And it's really nice how even you can see some diagrams, they are thinking on the orientation, the prevailing winds, these natural and local materials. And in a way, the three of us, when we saw this one and we were conversating about this one, in a way, we all thought that it was a project that might be done with a really low budget, but it was really well thought. And that in a way, it's really, in a way, unpretentious and sensible and humble. So there's even an reinterpretation of the historic technical constructive systems, but how can we do them in a contemporary way? So we believe in a way it's really powerful, and it has, in a way, reimagined these relationships among the people, the place, and the time. And, yeah.
I mean, when you look at the context, you actually realize how dwarfed it is in relationship to the existing buildings. But that did not deter us. What it did is that it demonstrated to us that this is almost a sampling, an instigation of a larger strategy yet to come. And so the idea of promise and opportunity that this represents with an ethic of simplicity in its construction systems was something that it communicated very effectively.
Yeah, the building punches so far above its weight class that we couldn't resist giving it this award and celebrating it in the way we do. I think that a small building that can transform a much larger building, as you said, Nader, is one that is representative of a kind of strategy that combines simplicity, clarity, but also real inventiveness, just by the manipulation of simple forms, without, again, overdoing the architecture. And I think this is a good lesson for us for the long term, for as long as we can continue to work and we can protect our environment and raise our children in ways that make them appreciate those values. I think this project and projects like it offer us that promise that we really talked about a lot when we began this final section of judging.
Yeah, I think this notion of the transformative power of architecture and the way that it has the power to change the way that we experience place, the way that we connect with one another, and the way that we understand our place in the world was something that came through so strong throughout the whole weekend, and especially with this project. So congratulations again to Boulder Associates. Wow, okay, we did it. Wow. Okay, well, we did it. We're at the end. We've seen all of the winning projects, so let's just give one more round of applause to all of this year's winners and all of the projects submitted. Congratulations. Okay, so before we leave, I'm not going to let these jurors leave just yet. I just want to hear any parting words that you have for us and for our design community, any messages that you want to leave us with. Nader?
Maybe they don't know this, but the jury process is more rigorous, more disciplined, more demanding on us than almost anything else I've ever been through. I've been on the Wholesome, I've been on the Aga Khan. For a state like Washington to do this to us is something that requires respect. That you demand discourse, that you demand a deeper inquiry, that you allow us to see the projects in person, that there's a staff that's in the room. I don't know what they were doing, on typewriters, on all sorts of stuff, documenting every step, means that the care that there is in this community about a discipline that is always on the verge of obsolescence. If you look at the way in which governance and let's say the state of politics has been emerging as of late, means that in order to have agency, you need to fulfill this kind of determination in the way that you have. So I'm deeply, deeply honored to be part of this jury and part of the process precisely because of the seriousness with which you've taken this. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nader. Armida, any final words?
Well, definitely, I am really grateful and honored to be with you. It was really a surprise to know the culture, know the people. I have been living in another parts of United States, and it really impressed me, your warmth and your sensibility and the architectural level of detail and care and like natural materials. And as well, it was really a great experience about knowing you each other and really learn a lot about the process and my colleagues. That it's really great conversations, intense conversations too. And well, I believe that as designers and architects, it's really important to understand that how we can make different questions or not think design as a solution, but design more as an initiation. And so in this case, it's not like to see design not at the end, not as the end, no? Like the project is done and that's it, but the other way, no? Like at the beginning and a generator of meaning. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Armida. Alan, bring us home.
Well, Lauren, thank you, first of all, because you've been an amazing partner in all of this, and also Armida and Nader, also really incredible. And if I start trying to name all the amazing people that I've met at Seattle AIA, I'll miss one person because I'm doddering, so I'm not going to try it. But back there and all through the weekend, as Nader said, they've been incredibly hospitable, hardworking, thoughtful, and I would say quite restrained people, not really waiting for us to deliberate, letting us change our mind a few times, etc. You know what has really struck me in this conversation, particularly at this political, social moment that we exist in this country, that all these projects were conceived and even built before these cataclysmic changes have occurred. And it really tells me about the temporality of architecture, and it makes architecture play a different role for us, given a different set of conditions. And we can't ever predict that. But the most durable architecture, as cultural artifacts, as motivators for society, are ones that basically transcend that political moment. And I think the projects that we reviewed and didn't award did that, many of them in different ways, and also the ones that we showed you tonight. So I really want to thank all of you, because as you said, architecture has, over the course of my career, tended to marginalize itself as a discipline from the world of decision making. And you all and the work that you've made has shown us that you're not in the margins, you're not sitting back, you're making really strong work that will affect a broad range of people in the city and in the country and in all over. And that's been a lesson I want to take back to my firm and remind everybody of that. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much to our jury, Alan, Armida, and Nader. Thank you so much for coming, spending the weekend with us. We really appreciate you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I also just want to thank the Honor Awards Committee, Zoe Guckenheimer, our Honor Awards co-chairs, Alex and Jennifer, and the rest of the AIA Seattle team who did so much to make this evening and the whole weekend a success. So let's give it up for them one more time. Thank you, AIA Seattle. And thank you all for an incredible evening of celebrating design. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.